to the show. Super Bowl champ Greg Jennings, who watches all of those shows. You just sit at home in order, bang them all out.
When he's here in New York, just hanging out.
Now you get to be on one of them. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. I have to get a little work done.
A little work done.
Working on a say things.
Okay.
Right.
Good to see you, Greg Jennings.
What you about to say?
with that?
I was just about to say. He's about to say something. I can see him posturing himself.
Now, you could tell when C's about to say something. Great expression. I'll try to get it in there. So the NFL trade deadline is less than a week away. Teams want players. Players want teams. Patrick Peterson wants a different team. The Cardinals' star corner still wants out of Arizona. Lots of teams interested in his services. Antonio Brown chimed in on Twitter saying automatic trip Patrick Peterson to the Steelers, referring to the all-pro corner. All right, Greg, which contender do you think could use Peterson the most?
Well, it wouldn't be an automatic shift for the Steelers.
They just giving them out.
But for me, obviously, Patrick Peterson wants to go to a contender. He's tired of losing. He wants to play in the playoffs and be on the team that's going to go deep into the playoffs, which is why he said, I want to be with the Saints. There's interest with the Patriots, the Eagles. For me, I like, when I look at the landscape of the NFL, I like the Atlanta Falcons. It would be an interesting place. They would obviously have to give up something. And when you're looking at a caliber player of Patrick Peterson, the Arizona Cardinals, even though they're saying, "Oh, we're not trading him," look, a first rounder is what they're going to acquire.
I think more.
Yeah, absolutely. At least
a first and something.
And when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, the way that they've built their team, I don't know if they would be willing to give up a first-round draft pick, but they do have a corner that they could possibly send over in Alford in a second, maybe third-round pick or something like that. But I like the Atlanta Falcons because they need another corner. They'll get Deion Jones back a little later in the year. They're hurting on the defensive side of the ball. Their offense is clicking, but there's a lot of places where he will make defenses better.
Well, that's the thing is with this, I'm sorry to interrupt, like I can make a case for any team because he's the best player in the league at his position. And he's a guy who came into the league when he was drafted, he was 20 years old. In his first year, he had just turned 21, first team All-Pro. I mean, he has been great. He's been in the league 8 years. He's only 28 years old, and he is on the Hall of Fame track. If we're talking about active defensive players who are tracking towards the Hall of Fame, there's only about a half dozen of them. There's Julius Peppers, there's J.J. Watt, there's Patrick Peterson. Like, Khalil Mack, sure, but he's got to do it for about another decade. Like, he's a little too young to put him there. So he is a great player. Say the Patriots. Oh, I watched them acquire Darrelle Revis when he was still a great player. Helped them win a Super Bowl. You mentioned the Saints. That when the Saints won their Super Bowl, they actually had a competent defense, and he, of course, went to LSU, so there's some of that connection. But the team that needs him the most, and the team who's in a win right now this moment window, is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have an extra second-round pick because of the Marcus Peters trade. They do not have a cornerback because of the Marcus Peters trade. Like, if we're talking about the Chiefs' one weakness being inability to stop people, if you can add one of the few players in the league that can shut down a third of the field, and then that helps your run defense because you can dedicate more people to the run game. And when you've got, the other thing with Peterson people need to understand is he is on a great contract. Next year, there's 12 corners making more money than him. And he's under contract for the year after that as well. So you have him relatively cheaply compared to where his standing is in the league. So any contender could use him. I think the Kansas City Chiefs could use him the most and have the assets to go get him.
Yeah, I think there's three teams right from the beginning. I'd like to see him in New England because I believe that Bill Belichick, and I just believe that because Tom Brady is at that hometown discount, you can pay defensive players like Patrick Peterson, Stephon Gilmore. Those guys are making the money and would be making the money for New England. And I know Belichick would utilize his talent and take advantage of it. I'm into players like Patrick Peterson who have not won, who get the opportunity where the culture is good. And that's what New England would do for a guy like Patrick Peterson. Man, I had conversations with Larry Fitzgerald years and years ago. Man, you should go to New England. And you need to leave the Cardinals.
He
Steve
wasn't feeling
Kine,
that for that price tag.
I was like, yeah, I knew he wasn't going to take no discount because Larry loves his money, but it was on the board. And now Larry has established himself. What he wanted to do in that community, he wanted to stay with that franchise. But Patrick Peterson, he's going to have a career just like Larry Fitzgerald's if he's not careful. Like, if he stays there, like, he's not going to be promised getting into the playoffs. You look at the Rams, the way they're emerging, San Francisco, they got a quarterback.
How many years off for the Cardinals, realistically?
I mean, it depends on Rosen, but even with Rosen, they're a ways off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't even think with Rosen, there's a level that you still have to get to, even with Rosen. You have a quarterback, but you don't know where his ceiling is yet. He's getting a lot of experience this year, but you probably will lose a Larry Fitzgerald after this year. You're going to lose some. Your running back that everybody thought was going to have an amazing comeback season
disappeared.
We don't even talk about him anymore. Johnson, who? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but it was like for a year and a half, and it's like nothing. So they have to
I would say they're not going to win for the next 3 years. And also look at the quarterbacks they're going against in their division. You got Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, and Jimmy Garoppolo. It's going to be tough. And we ain't even mentioned Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, all the other quarterbacks is stacked. Cam Newton in the NFC. It's going to be tough for Arizona to be able to rebuild and put a winner on the field.
You're not going to believe this. I have David Johnson also in fantasy.
Yeah.
It's been a time.
Jenna, there's a reason you lost 6 in a row. And there's a reason we don't talk about your fantasy team on TV.
All my teams. The worst.
Yeah.
Got to take a break. Stick around. Coming up, could the Packers season be over in the next 2 weeks? That's next on First Things First.
Jenna's fantasy update. Miss me with that.
Yeah. There you go. She tried to get it in there. Her brain.